one I often hear revolves around this idea, that buying spot on a regular basis, or effectively trying to trade by buying and selling currencies is a good enough way, to manage the volatility or reduce your risk, to currency fluctuation. So the first thing I'll say is to do that effectively, it takes, considerable amount of time and effort to stay on top of rates, which is going to take, away from your core business, or again, you're going to have a team and pay or invest in a team to manage that. So it's incredibly expensive. The other key factor here is to recognize, most are doing this and they're leveraging the bank spot rates, which typically are themselves just more costly. But the biggest issue is how this compares to forward contracts or hedging. These tools are designed specifically to reduce costs and risk associated with exchange rate fluctuations. So they're just always going to outperform in the short, mid, and long term. Will you get one spot rate where, within a year that you might win on? Sure, but over time you're going to lose. And then again, not that it's not to mention, these are these tools, these hedging tools that we're talking about here versus spot, they're managed by massive liquidity organizations like banks, right? So they have access to trading platforms, option contracts, and then billions of dollars in funds to trade against. So now I get it, historically, these forward contracts and hedging tools, have been difficult for the average company to access. So I can understand the mindset, but it's a big misconception that spot trading can outperform some of these tools that are coming to market. And yeah, I can't tell you the number of times I've had calls with users who say, they're just going to take advantage of our spot rates, which is fine. And certainly I'm biased, but I know our user experience just makes it's so dead simple to lock in forward rates or future rates. So we even actually provide comparable future rates when you're looking at a spot. So if anyone sees the application, as you book your spot, you can actually compare to forward contracts. And so because we've made it so simple, I'm always so confident, in the value, given all the reasons we just spoke about, that I always make sure to call the users that that suggest that they're only going to use spot to see if they've started using the hedging tool after a couple of weeks. And I can tell you, I don't think I can recall a single person who hasn't converted. So and I said I'll try and keep this short. So that's misconception number one. Number two, the other I often hear is FX costs are a distributor problem. And Craig, I think you alluded to this at the beginning. The problem and the reality of this problem is it's a medtech issue as a whole. So whether you're paying or receiving globally, FX is impacting your business whether you recognize it or not. And I guess to give some context here, many distributors I've been talking to, when faced with even like a slight negative change to their exchange rate, at best, they will just delay payment. But what we're seeing more and more is the worst case scenario, which is actually they'll reduce order flow or even look to other suppliers or other markets where potentially they can offset that. And I can't tell you, I've spoken to both manufacturers and distributors who have shared multiple stories of having to renegotiate pricing mid-contract due to swings in currency. And I've heard from a lot of distributors that the impact that this has on their margin, it's forced them to stop orders or even, like I said, identify potentially alternative suppliers to alleviate some of this pressure on their profit margin. So again, it's a big misconception that it's just the distributor part. Obviously this is impacting both sides of the order flow.
Yeah, it's funny that the last points you're making there. I as you know, I go to Medica and Hospitaller and Arab Health, et cetera. When I'm talking to distributors about foreign exchange and volatility, is the immediate response of, "Oh, I get it." When I talk to manufacturers, it takes a few more minutes to explain what's actually happening to them, because I just spoke to a distributor that's looking to replace their supplier because the exchange rate has made the margins too thin for them, or the volatility, whatever it might be. So yeah, it really is. And then once we have that conversation, the manufacturer light bulb goes on and they realize, well, this really is an issue for me. And this is something I can offer to my distributors, distributors globally.
It's a great point, and you know, we're having more and more conversations with manufacturers now that are looking to deploy this across their portfolio of distributors as a way to, you know, proactively manage, you know, some of the risks that we talked about. Because, you know, the one thing that we're also seeing is that often distributors aren't bringing this up, so they might negotiate into pricing, but they're, you know, again, they may actually go look at alternatives or just reduce order flow, and the suppliers, you know, not really aware that, you know, that this is coming. So some of these proactive tools, you know, and we're also seeing it when you're proactive with tools like this, it actually strengthens that partnership. You know, you're bringing something innovative and exciting to market that helps the, you know, the margin, you know, of your partner. So we've seen some real success, you know, with this as well.